What's going on, everyone? This video we are looking at the final look for week 14. Give you guys my final core heading into Sunday slate, which is under 19 hours from kickoff by the time I'm making this video right now. So let's get into it. As always, appreciate you guys hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I have partnered with Prize Picks, so if you want to get a free deposit match up to $100, sign up and use the code PROCESS. Put the info in the description for tomorrow's slate if you want to. I'll tweet out some picks on Twitter tomorrow morning over there for Prize Picks if you guys do play over there. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out the website, dfsprocess.net. Last Sunday was really good. Hoping to make the same this Sunday. So let's get into it. Starting off at the quarterback position, as always, we have Patrick Mahomes at the top at $8,100 facing off against a Miami team that basically just lost its entire backfield with Gaskin being placed in the COVID list, as well as Matt Breida. So their backfield is pretty banged up. They also Ahmed, who was started a couple games, he's also out. So they're down to Washington and Patrick Laird. So it could be Patrick Laird's season, but I will definitely not be touching him. Uh, but Mahomes against Miami, he's been the best quarterback in football this season. You can make an argument for a couple guys, but it's been Mahomes at the top the entire season. So he looks good if you want to pay up for a quarterback. Then you have Russell Wilson. I like Mahomes a bit more than Wilson because I think Mahomes, Reed just loves to throw the football even when they're up by a lot, and Pete Carroll does sometimes and will go to the running game if they're up by a bunch. But so just for that reason, I like Mahomes a little bit more. Just because I think his game will be a little bit more competitive. Watson is the guy that I'm not that interested in this week against the Bears on the road. I think he will still be an okay quarterback option if you're playing him in like regular fantasy. But for DFS, I prefer to go up to like Mahomes or go cheap this week. Like you have Rodgers cheaper than Watson in a much better spot against Detroit. He'll play Aaron Rodgers this week. You have Justin Herbert. That game is my favorite game to stack on the slate. Atlanta and the Chargers. Chargers coming off of an embarrassing 45 to nothing defeat by the hands of Bill Belichick and the Patriots. I expect that offense to get cooking again tomorrow afternoon against this Falcons defense. I'm expecting this game to probably go north of 55 points as a total. I think both teams can get you over 25 points and be probably one of the best game stacks of the week. So I love Justin Herbert at 68. You could look towards like Taysom Hill or Kirk Cousins. Cousins is gonna have to throw the football a lot more in this game just because of how good the Bucks are against the rush. But their pass defense has been pretty poor, and Cousins has been throwing for a lot of yards. 305, 307, 314, 292. Been pretty having to throw the football a lot recently. Three straight 3 touchdown games, and it's another spot where he's probably gonna have to throw north of 35, 40 times. So I'll expect him to be a decent option. And then the guys that I like below below $6,000 are going to be Philip Rivers just as a tournament option at 59. But really, I like Matt Ryan this week. I liked him in the beginning of the week. I like him still as we make this video Saturday night. He just seems a little bit too cheap for the matchup. $5,700 against the Chargers defense that have been super bad this season in terms of giving up points. They're giving up 29 points per game. They gave up over 25 points in 9 straight games, and during that span, they gave up huge point totals to some pretty bad offenses. They gave up 29 points to the Jacksonville offense. They gave up 31 to the Broncos. So even 28 to the Jets. So I'm expecting Matt Ryan to at least be able to score 3, 4 touchdowns and maybe 5. So I like Matt Ryan at 5,700. Running back wise this week, Cook is 9,400 against the best run defense in football. I will not be playing him this week. McCaffrey is not going to play. So the most expensive guy that I'm considering is going to be Derrick Henry. I like Henry more than Jones, who's similarly priced, about $1,000 cheaper, but Henry has just a better spot. He's kind of eaten in this matchup in the past. Earlier this season, they did bottle him down a bit, but last season, 2 years ago, he did play pretty well against Jacksonville. He had his best game of the season against them last season. So you definitely can play Henry this week. He's expensive, and you're going to need him to kind of get it going on the ground because he's not going to catch passes like every single week. but he seems like a pretty good option this week. You also have some other guys that look appealing this week. Austin Eckler is still my favorite in terms of point per dollar wise. So last week only got 8 carries on the ground because they were down big the entire game. Surprisingly, he only had four catches, but he did get targeted 9 times. Oh, you're basically getting a double-digit target machine out of the backfield and he's going to get you 10, 15, probably 15 to 20 carries. Now that, first week back, he still got 25 touches. Last week, the game kind of was just out of hand and a mess, but this week she'll be able to score some points. Makes a big factor the entire game and in the red zone. So Austin Eckler, great play this week. Other running back that I like, you could definitely look to David Montgomery at 6,500. You could look to Mike Davis at 64. With the Miami backfield situation, you can look towards Washington because he's going to get you a good amount of work at just $4,000. The matchup and game script is a little bit scary because they could be down big and just have to abandon the run game. But I still think you could look to him as a decent value play. But the guy that I like the most is J.D. McKissick at $4,900 in terms of a cheap running back, just because there is going to be a lot of opportunity for him. The price tag is cheap. He is going to probably become like getting about 60% of the work on the ground. They do have Barber, who's going to take some carries in some short yardage situations, but I do think McKissick is probably going to get you like 8 to 12 carries and probably like 8 to 10 plus targets. So this week, and his snap share is just going to go up big time with no Gibson. Gibson missed most of the game last week, and you saw McKissick get 15 touches. So you could see a similar role, 15, 20 touches for McKissick against the 49ers defense that has been up and down all season, but Washington football team's been playing good football. No pun intended there. Been playing for good football recently, and I think McKissick is just a little too cheap in terms of, especially on DraftKings with PPR scoring. Moving on to the most loaded position of the week, wide receivers. You have so many good receiving options this week. Adams in a great spot, Tyreek Hill in a great spot, Metcalf against the Jets. You have Keenan Allen. You even have Hopkins. So many good receivers in great spots. But I'm playing Matt Ryan, so I'm going to stack him with a guy, and that's going to be Calvin Ridley, $7,500 against the Chargers. No Julio Jones, so just going to get all the big plays in this game. Matt Ryan loves to throw to Ridley, and then no Julio is just going to add to his target share. So against the Chargers, it's now the matchup is fine. I'm not worried about it too much. They have been good against the pass because they have a couple good cornerbacks, most notably Casey Hayward. But I still think Ridley is going to get the ball. He's probably going to get 10 plus targets, and they should put up points. So he's going to be utilized in the red zone. Probably get a couple of definitely get a couple of red zone targets. So Calvin Ridley looks to be a really good play at 7,500. I love Tyreek Hill this week against this Miami team. Expect Mahomes and Hill. They've just been so good in terms of just giving Tyreek Hill so many deep looks. 11 targets, 15, 14, 18 targets the last 4 weeks. Matchup is great against Miami. It should be a high scoring game. The Chiefs put up points every single week. Last week, even against the Denver Broncos, really only scored 22. I mean, they had a touchdown that Hill caught, but they didn't challenge, and then they had another one that Hill caught that was overturned. So he could have easily had like 2 touchdowns last week against the Broncos and probably had over like close to 100 plus yards if those two weren't called back. So I mean, would have been over 100 yards, but could have had as like third biggest most like game of the season in terms of scoring. That would have been like probably 3 or 4 straight games over 30 fantasy points had those 2 touchdowns stood last week. So I'm going back to him, especially with everybody playing Adams this week. I think you could get Tyreek Hill at a little bit less ownership in a similar spot. So I like Tyreek Hill, and then a couple of other wide receivers. Adam Thielen looks good at 7K flat. You have a very cheap Chris Godwin. I like him quite a bit against the Vikings. He's going to get you good targets. He's going to get you yards. The touchdowns, they have so many guys, but the yards and targets will be there for him. And then the guy that I like who's cheap this week is going to be still like Tim Patrick from the Broncos, just because he's only $4,200. You're not getting this type of snap share, and this basically the number one receiver right now for the Broncos at like such a good price point. Very often, price tag was almost 5K a couple weeks ago, and now he's in the low 4K range, coming off of another high fantasy score game. He's been super consistent for the team. And with Jerry Jeudy, looks like he's battling an injury. He hasn't been 100%, hasn't been playing great, so definitely battling some sort of injury. Patrick has just kind of emerged, and I think 4,200 against the Panthers, you can definitely sign me up for that. So, $4,000 left here. Tight end go a little cheap this week. I think you could look towards Jonnu Smith at 3,900, Robert Tonyan at 4,200, Hunter Henry 44, or go cheap for a Logan Thomas or a Jordan Reed or a Dalton Schultz. Those are the tight ends I'm considering. And then defense, go cheap at defense this week is what I'm doing. You have the Cowboys against the Bengals at 2,400. The Cowboys defense been horrible all season, but hopefully they can at least have their best game of the season against that quarterback. And then you have the Seahawks at 3K. They also look really appealing. You have the Washington football team at 2,800. And you have the Giants also at 2,600. Those are a couple defenses I'm considering. And that's pretty much it for the DraftKings side. So let's jump over to FanDuel. The plays are pretty similar on both sides. That's what I like to do, but go ahead and touch on them. All right, over on FanDuel at quarterback, you have Rodgers as your most expensive guy. $9,100 against the Lions. He's been still good all season. Just think I'd go a little bit cheaper at quarterback on FanDuel. Like you can go to Mahomes at 8,900. You could go to Herbert at 83. Watson looks a little bit better with his price tag on FanDuel, 8K. And then you have Matt Ryan at 73, Cousins. Both of those guys look appealing given the matchups. And then you have Rivers, super cheap if you wanted to just take a shot on and punt at quarterback. But on FanDuel, I think I'm still going with Matt Ryan. Feel like he is going to have a breakout game. He hasn't been super consistent all season, but I'm expecting him to have one of his best games of the season this week or tomorrow against the Chargers defense. So even though he's missing Julio Jones, I still think that Ridley will be enough, and just how bad that Chargers defense is at stopping guys from getting into the end zone is going to help Matt Ryan. So I like Matt Ryan at 7,300. At running back, Eckler is still my favorite on FanDuel. He's only $7,500. Expect this game to be a shootout. Want to get a piece of both sides. So give me Austin Eckler at 7,500. And then I still like J.D. McKissick. FanDuel is a little bit less appealing because you only get half point per reception, but I'm expecting him to not only get a big uptick in targets, but he's probably going to get a lot of big uptick in carries. He only got 5 carries last week against Pittsburgh, but that defense is really, really good. And Peyton Barber got a lot of carries, but he didn't do anything either. So there is opportunity to give McKissick the ball and see what he can do on the ground. And Alex Smith loves to check down to him, so he's going to be a pretty involved piece in that offense all game. And I think 5,300 looks pretty good on FanDuel as well. And then wide receiver, it's still Tyreek Hill for me at 9K. I like Metcalf a lot. He's not getting a ton of love, so go to Metcalf just because he's sandwiched between Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, and Hill. He's probably going to be the fourth guy that people go towards. But we've seen the Jets just give up a huge amount of points to wide receivers. Metcalf and Seattle offense coming off of that embarrassing loss to the Giants at home. Expect them to take out some of their frustration on the Jets tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. So Metcalf seems to be a really good play. But I'm still going to be going Ridley with Ryan Stack on FanDuel. You could look towards Adam Thielen at 77. If you need another guy in the 7K range, you can look towards maybe like Ayuk seems to be a little bit chasing, but you could play him if you wanted to at 67. Some guys that I would consider below like 6K in the low 6K high 5K range are maybe Perryman against Seattle just because they're missing Mim, so he's going to be out there on the field and get a couple more targets. He's shown some big play upside already this season. And Tim Patrick, I feel like Tim Patrick will be able to have another good game. 5,400, he's not getting any ownership, so I will be gladly take a shot on a guy that's playing 90% of the snaps for them on offense. He has been very consistent, minus that game where he didn't have a quarterback against the Saints. He's been 18, 14, 8, 11, 12, 20, 12. So more often than not recently, he's been able to get you at least double digits, and 5,400, that's definitely fine enough. And some of these matchups have been difficult. Well, all season he's had some tough matchups. Pittsburgh, the Patriots, the Saints. We didn't have a quarterback in that one, but in some pretty appealing spots, like against the Jets, he's been good with 20. Against the Falcons, good matchup, 11. Raiders, only 8. But he's been stepping up recently, and I think just with the injury, well, looks like Jerry Judy's banged up and seems to have a good connection with Drew Lock. And on Fanduel, touchdowns are really important, and he is utilized in the red zone, and he does get a lot of goal line looks when they are throwing in those scenarios. So these are the 6 pieces that I'm going with on both sites. Thank you guys for watching, and best of luck tomorrow.